Welcome to allocations. Allocations allow the user to take posted transactions and to move them in a systemic method to other distributions. Let me explain this a little further by going into an allocation. When I need to do an allocation, I will collect costs in a pool. I will move them to different recipients, and it will be based upon a methodology that the user will define. The choices for the methodologies are things like tables, preset tables that would be used for square footage, an indirect cost rate that would be determined by your cognizant agency or grantor, relative account balances for things like the total cost of personnel costs across the entire organization. Weighted average daily balance works fabulously for investments and cash balances. Employee headcount works very well for things that are driven by HR functions and IT functions. Labor hours is often a good basis for grants. Transaction counts can also be a good basis for things like accounting functions, even though we'd love to tell you we actually recover the cost of accounting very often. User-defined measures can also be built for things like client census tracking, number of units of service delivered in a specific month. Anything unique to your organization can be defined as a user-defined field. Let's go into one that's already built. Let's take a look at the investment allocations. In the investment allocations, the system is going to allocate investment earnings over the weighted average daily balance. We're going to use the grant to determine the indirect cost rate segment. The pool is going to collect the data in Grant 999 and Fund 99, and I'm going to collect the revenue that's earned during that period. I'm going to spread it to the recipients based upon building the list, either with the wizard or manually, for the combination of grants and funds that are eligible to receive this investment earnings. The method that I'm going to use is based upon the value of your accounts for the money market account and the investment account. And it's not the beginning or the ending. Just to remind you, it's based upon the weighted average daily balance. This calculation will go out to each of the combinations of recipients, calculate a relative weighting on their average daily balance, and weight them against each other to determine how to spread the investment earnings that are in the pool for this period. That's very typical in groups that pool or manage cash collectively. The other thing we very typically see with clients is an indirect cost allocation that's based on labor hours. In this scenario, the method is labor hours. The pool is again often going to be 999, which is the pooled grant, the pooled program, and the pooled department. In this case, what they're doing is they're collecting the occupancy costs, which include building rent, utilities and maintenance, and the indirect expenses for the building. The recipients for this are going to be all of the combination of grant, program, and department that live inside this building. My method, in this case, is not going to be specific to any general ledger account because I'm using labor hours, so I will be needing to run the payroll report or the payroll module in order to make this work correctly. So as you look at the power of the allocation system, keep in mind all the various ways and methods that I can allocate costs. I can define the pool and the recipient as nice and neatly as I need to, and I can test and pre-calculate and modify any calculations that don't work for me. The business process is relatively straightforward. I first build my allocations, I run the process, I can then edit or correct any unposted allocations, and then I post. These can be reversed in a later period if I determine that the allocation base or pool needed to change, and rerun at any time, based upon your accounting rules of what periods are allowed to be edited. The flexibility of this system is built around the fact that the screens are user editable. It doesn't take a programmer, and it certainly doesn't take a rocket scientist to set this one up.